This is episode 39 with 18-year-old author, entrepreneur, and activist Maya Penn. Hello and welcome to the episode of the UV Effect podcast. My name is Gabrielle Jordan. I am your host and thank you so much for joining me. Today we have a special guest. Her name is Maya Penn and she is incredible. Her list of accolades goes on and on and on. She is an incredible entrepreneur, an animator, a filmmaker, environmental activist, a fashion designer. She's been featured as Oprah Super Souls 100. She's been featured on TED Talk multiple times. She has been featured on Forbes, on TV. She's been featured everywhere, and she's also an author. So, Maya Penn, I'm very excited to get into this interview with her and have you guys learn a lot about her. If you haven't heard her name already, definitely be sure to look her up. And I'm surprised you haven't heard her already. She's been everywhere. She's been featured everywhere. She's an incredible young lady. So, yeah, absolutely. So, in this episode, we're actually going to be talking about her journey in her life and how she's gotten to where she is today, starting off with starting her fashion company when she was 9 years old, I believe, called Maya Ideas, where she creates sustainable clothing. So it's all about environmentally healthy clothing, using vintage, using handmade and recyclable items. Again, she's very focused on the environment, and she speaks about this as well. She speaks on environmental activism, as well as she speaks about girl and women activism as well. So yeah, she's definitely incredible, and she goes about and she does wonderful things. A lot of her 10% of her profits go back to global charities and environmental nonprofits and organizations. So yeah, incredible work she does. And so yes, again, in this episode, we're focusing all about, her journey, how she's gotten to where she is today, and how her unique mind, the uniqueness of, her creativity, the way that she thinks, the way that she acts upon her work, especially being so young, how her being so unique has really led to her being where she is and being able to do what she's been able to do in her life today. Her story is very inspiring just for the sake of her being so young and having the ideas that she has to do what she's doing. One of the things that I was so inspired by is how she is actually has this initiative where she creates these sanitary pads and ships them off to different countries that are, third world countries. Sorry, my bad. And she ships off to the people to places that are, have very little resources. To women that don't, they have periods just like everybody else, but don't have the supplies, to keep them comfortable and to keep them from getting contaminated. So she makes these sanitary pads with a group of people that she got together to create these pads and then ships them off to the countries that, that need them, to the women that need them. So it's really incredible what she does. That's just one of the initiatives that she works on. So I'm definitely, again, excited for you guys to hear about her story, about all the wonderful advice that she has for you all. If you're a young person listening or a young person, this is a great interview to listen to because, she's young herself and she's done so much only at the age of 18. It's awesome to, again, being 18 myself, to be able to even, talk to another person that is, doing things for the world and, just leaving her mark at an early age. I just love, hearing these kinds of stories and, being able to be surrounded by like-minded young people, I guess you can say. So, yeah, definitely an incredible interview. Wonderful advice she shares about, being a young entrepreneur, about being environmentally safe and creating sustainable products and why it's so important to care for our environment and much, much more. So definitely stay tuned and listen and enjoy and take out your notepad and your pencil for some notes. And without further ado, let's jump into this interview with Maya Penn. Hello and welcome, Maya. Thank you so much for being on the UV Effect podcast.
Thank you so much for having me be a guest. I'm so excited to be a part of your incredibly inspiring podcast. And you're such an awesome person and awesome host. So.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I'm really excited to have you on. If you guys don't know who Maya Penn is, you heard in the introduction all about her and who she is and how incredible she has spent her life devoted really to making the world better, making physical changes to the world and helping people across the globe. And that's just incredible. And I'm excited to get into your story, how you got started, and what you plan to do in the future and everything else that I have to ask you. But yeah, so let's just jump in with you. How did you get started in both entrepreneurship and then with activism and philanthropy?
So the entrepreneurship came actually after, I think, the activism and the philanthropy.
Oh, really?
I've always really been conscious about the impact that I have on my community, on the environment. I'm specifically an environmental activist. I'm also a women and girls rights activist, among other things. But for example, that passion for in the environmental activism, that was something that was instilled in me at a very early age. So really, for as long as I can remember, I've always been really conscious of that. I was always, recycling, trying to reduce, reuse our natural resources, et cetera, et cetera. And so I've also always had a passion for art and design in all of its different forms, including fashion design. So I kind of combined those two passions together when I started my company, Maya's Ideas. And this was in 2008. I was 8 years old at the time
So
when
you're
I started my
a
company.
millennium kid, yeah? 2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So I was 8 years old when I started my company. And the reason that I decided to make my fashion eco-friendly is because I started doing a lot of research after I started designing about how the dyes in certain clothing or the materials or the process of even making the items is really harmful and has a lot of negative effects on the planet and even the people that wear and buy the items. And so I wanted to do something about it. So I started literally just by finding just old clothes or fabric around my house and making them into headbands and scarves and different things like that. And when I started wearing those pieces myself, people would stop me whether we were out grocery shopping or I was at, with family or friends, or if I was at church, and then people say like, "Oh, that's so cute. Like, where can I get one? Is there anywhere that you can buy them?" And that's when I was like, okay, maybe I can sell these and like make this a business.
Yeah.
And it just really all started from there.
And now, as I was seeing on your website, that of course you focus now on really implementing environmentally safe products when it comes to making the fabric that you make, even the jewelry that you make, everything that's on your site. It's environmentally safe, it's environmentally conscious, and that's really, even though people might not even think about it that much, but I mean, like you said, the process of making clothing, the traditional way can be very harmful, and to kind of to take the decision to decide to change, how you want to, make an impact, or how you want to, make your footprint. That decision to do what you can in order to limit that footprint, and also to help other people realize the importance of that. I think that's very inspiring, especially you being only 8 years old, getting started into it. I mean, that's, to be very conscious about that kind of thing is a very unique thing, and I think that's really incredible. Can you tell us, so as you continue to start this business and you started to grow this company, and you were getting more and more into this this focus of global consciousness, what really inspired you to keep pushing forward in it? Like, what inspired you to grow the company and also grow in this focus?
Well, what's really kept me going forward is really a lot of things. I think it does. The things I do know absolutely help when you start a company, and when you think about, okay, how do I keep that motivation or that spark like going through, like in the long run? Things I do know for sure is doing something you're passionate about and doing something that makes a difference always is a huge like driving force to keep going. And that's always been what's really made me so excited about my company. As of now, the fashion industry is the second largest polluter of our environment, only second to oil, which is really crazy to think about. You don't really, even I am so shocked by how just what's in your wardrobe has such a huge link back to a lot of what we're seeing in these environmental issues like climate change. We've seen all these natural disasters, and it's so crazy to think that what you could be wearing could be a direct result of that and how those clothes are produced. And so people are starting to, people already were, of course, very excited about my designs just because I'm extremely artsy, and I love to try to make pieces that are really unique and that people maybe haven't seen before. And that's what brought a lot of people to purchase my items. But even more now, people are becoming aware of what's happening in how the fashion industry is impacting the environment. Just like how people, you saw it with the food industry, for example. People, they're more organic, more non-GMO, vegan, whatever, like options now, like in grocery stores, at restaurants, even at fast food chains now.
Right.
And that's because people started getting educated and started demanding healthier options for food. And now this is actually starting to happen with fashion too. And that has like increased the demand, like for my designs, like huge, like tenfold.
Nice.
And people are excited to have sustainable alternatives to include in their wardrobe, and pieces that not only are good for the planet but also look good. I think when people think about sustainable fashion, they think, oh, you have to wear like a burlap potato sack or something like that, and that's not the case at all. And every day there are new materials, technology, methods, and coming out every day in the eco fashion world that I'm so excited to start using and incorporating and researching all the time to make my products even more sustainable and even be able to push certain parts aesthetically while still keeping it extremely sustainable. So that's really exciting for me.
Right, and I was looking on your website, but I mean, I was looking at the scarves that you were selling on there. Something like that. That's just gorgeous, and you wouldn't. I guess when someone thinks, "Oh, it's a sustainable product," as you said, they might think it's a burlap sack. But the one of the things that really caught my eye, what were those scarves on the site, and they're absolutely gorgeous. And you wouldn't think twice that it was made with something different or made to be environmentally conscious. Can you tell us maybe some of the things that you would see that aren't healthy in the average pair of socks or t-shirt that needs to be changed, that you're kind of trying to enforce a change on?
I think one of the biggest things is the waste that comes from the fashion industry. It's so crazy how many resources goes into like one t-shirt, and you could really avoid a lot of that process. Pesticides used in certain materials, like like the cottons, or even like man-made synthetic materials, unless they're recycled. That's another way to, like, if you want to use like a synthetic material, recycle something else instead of creating more of that. And the processes of just making some of these materials gives off so many toxins. The dyes, there's a lot of dye runoff issues that you might not see like directly, but like in other countries. I mean, in other countries, they talk about how I know in China, there's certain areas where you can tell like what color is in season by the color of the water, and like that's just terrible. It's really crazy. Yeah. It's really I think it's really just the waste and the overconsumption, and there's overproduction and certain materials, and there's so many resources we have that we can reuse and turn into something new instead of just continuing to make new, because it's really creating a negative impact on our planet. So, for example, with my designs, my products are either made from organic, recycled, or vintage materials. So they're either like organic cotton, bamboo, hemp, and then you have recycled, so it can be, a recycled piece of fabric, or they're vintage, like it can be from original vintage piece that can be, turned into a totally new design. So there's lots of different ways to incorporate sustainability into fashion, and there's such a huge variety of ways to make fashion greener.
So
overall.
as you continue do you hope to, go to college for fashion and also sustainability? Do you hope to maybe even just teach yourself, teach other, kids or teach even adults, how to, produce fashion like this? Or, what do you hope to do? Like, what are your hopes when it comes to this business and in order to grow this message?
I think what I really hope is, well, first of all, I have been talking a lot I've been doing a lot of speaking engagements and talks and around these sort of subjects with, youth that might want to get into fashion. And it's really amazing to just when you kind of see that shift in someone's mind, like, oh, let me think about how I can just make this greener.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be, crazy expensive, or you don't have to have the newest technology or methods. You just need to be conscious. You just need to think, what can I do that's less wasteful, but, it is still will really bring out the overall design and the aesthetic that I want. So definitely education is a huge part of it for me. And I get to do that a lot and talk about not only just sustainable fashion, but just like social entrepreneurship in general, which is something I talk about a lot. And then also too, I think other than the education standpoint of it, I'm really hoping, and I'm really seeing now how the fashion industry itself is, starting to notice that consumers do want more sustainable products, and they're, even, some have even come to me for any sort of consultation or thoughts, because I've been actually doing this for 10 years now, technically, and so.
You're an expert on this. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah. You're 18. I mean, that in itself, and even people that are watching this right now, I know that for me when I was younger, and even at this point, still people might look at you, look at me saying, "Oh, you're only this old. Like, how do you know this, that, and whatever?" But like, we've been spending most of our lives, our livelihood, focused on this, and you've really focused on this and making active steps in your life to push this message and also to produce the what the world really needs. And that's just so incredible, and something that people need to think about too, is that, someone your age has the capability of being able to do the things that need to be done in order to improve this world. So obviously anybody older than you is capable of doing that same thing. They don't have to start a fashion line, but whether it's just taking a few steps. And actually wanted to get a little bit of your opinion on that. What kind of steps can someone take when it comes to becoming more sustainable and environmentally conscious?
I think when it comes to sustainability, there's so much out there now, and so many more options, and more options coming in the future. I think what's been the main issue is the accessibility to certain sustainable methods and alternatives, but that's starting to change. Like, again, we see with the food industry, we have healthier options, and they're slowly becoming even more accessible to the average person. But that's starting to happen with fashion as well. And just it's little things, like, let's say you want to make your wardrobe just greener. You want to figure out, what can I do to have a more sustainable wardrobe, for example. Of course, you can, supporting sustainable brands, because there are eco-fashion brands, like we exist. We're out there.
Yeah.
Just look for us, just look for us. And people are definitely, finding us. But absolutely just supporting other eco brands, because when you support those brands, that sends a big message to the fashion industry too. Like, okay, they're supporting these companies that are sustainable. This is what people want. And then also too, if you want to go on a smaller scale, things like vintage shopping. The majority of, other than my own designs or other eco designs, the majority of my wardrobe is vintage. And
I love it. It's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, so that's one easy way to make your wardrobe more sustainable, because you don't you're not putting money into new waste and new materials. And there's so many vintage shops around now, and you can go online. There's so many different ways you can find vintage now. And also thrift stores are really important too. I go to thrift stores all the time. You can get secondhand vintage. There's so many gems and just treasures you can find in thrift stores.
Thrifting is such a great thing. It's fun too. I think like for most
It's
people,
fun.
yeah, and I feel like what I hear from this is that people do need to do a little bit more research in order to find these types of things, but I find that it might be quite worth it. And also finding like unique things, right? Something that most people won't have, and it's not, you're going to stand out. And I think that that's kind of that plus side of going for the sustainable, going for the vintage, going for the different thing, because you're going to have that unique thing, but then also you're going to be helping the environment in a major way and with just small steps. And I think that's just something to think about. And I love that this is your message, but you also have other messages too. Like you said in the beginning, you also focus on women and girls and activism in there, and building their confidence, and also helping them to pursue maybe STEM or STEAM. I was reading a little bit about that because you are very creative yourself. You do animation, and I think I saw somewhere that you created an animation for the report for a women's history museum.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? I saw about that. I was really interested in hearing about, what that process was.
Yeah, so, like you mentioned, I am an animator and a filmmaker, and I make animated films and series. And in early 2016, during the Obama administration, I was asked to animate and film and narrate and just overall put together the opening of the first ever digital report presented to Congress. And the report was created to get a women's history museum built in Washington, because there actually is not an American Museum of Women's History. And that's something that a lot of people have been wanting to try to make progress towards. So I created the opening of the report. I went to the Capitol and everything during the presentation, and it was a really amazing experience. And it's just so awesome to have been a part of that, and to try to take some steps toward a museum of women's history coming to Washington. So yeah, that was really exciting for me.
I'm sure, and I think that's incredible to have been a part of that project, and to still be part of that project to this day, in the sense that you are still a part of that mission, and you'll always be a part of it. And that's very cool. So yeah, you are really focused on just building the earth, and then also building girls, building women. And I think that's, of course, so important right now as we are, movement of time's up. And I mean, just where we are right now, especially in this year, has really been so focused on women and our empowerment. And I think, again, just to meet, another young person that is focused on that really shows the possibility of a future, because I feel like Gen Z, which is us, I think millennial or Gen Z, I think that's where we are. But like, we are so hardcore pressed for just change, and I'm so happy to see that. And I actually want to know.
No.
I mean, you look at like, what was it, the walk that was happening?
Yeah, it was a March for Our Lives.
Exactly.
That was awe-inspiring.
Phenomenal, right? I mean, I think so. My question for you really is where for you personally does your spirit of change, your eager spirit to make change in this world come from? Like, for you personally.
I think for me personally, it really, I mean, of course, I've always had, instilled in me from my parents to always be really, to be proactive. And if you can do something to make the world a better place, then, just go for it. And of course, that's always been with me as a message as a whole. But I do want to say that I really think that what keeps pushing me forward and keeps giving me the strength personally to keep going is God. My faith is, a really big part of my life. And that's been really a guiding force for me through all of this, because everything that I do, even though it's a noble cause, it still crazy, and to be at this age and to just be who I am in general doing this has been a really crazy experience. But I think that's where I really get that spirit from. And I personally, my personal belief is that I think that you cannot worry about being a drop in the bucket. I know everyone cares about something,
Yeah.
really. But so many people don't do anything about that something. You see something going on in the world that really impacts you and touches, touches a part of your heart that's really makes you feel like, wow, that's just really important to me, and I wish things would be different, or I wish things could be better. And if you feel that, then take some steps towards that. You don't have to start a business to make a difference. You don't have to start a nonprofit or anything. It could just be speaking out about it. It can just be, sharing and educating others about it, or talking to people at your school, or trying to start a program at your school, or in your community, or participating in other programs or nonprofits that are surrounding that cause. I mean, there are so many ways to get involved with the movement towards ending these issues that are happening in our world. And so I always felt like, whatever I can do to make a difference, let me just do that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I feel like they think that what they do is not going to make an impact, and they worry that, what I do just goes so unnoticed because I'm just one person, or I'm too young, or whatever this thing is. And every small little action makes a huge difference, makes a huge change, whether you see it or not.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really important to remember.
And like you said, like you gave all these options of what can be done and what you can do, or you could, the smaller things, or you could do, if you're watching, if you could do what something like that Maya's done, even starting, initiatives yourself. Like I saw that you started an initiative where you are sending make sure I have that right. You're sending these pads, reusable pads that are handmade, and they are sanitary pads you're sending them to countries that are developing countries, sending them to girls in developing countries. That is absolutely remarkable, and I feel like, yes, you can like it's you can do the large things like that, which is incredible, and you can do the small things like that. But like what you said, that just that importance of figuring out what it is that touches you, what it is that you hear about, even if it doesn't touch you like personally in the sense that you're not dealing with it, but if you feel something about that, then and you want to do something for that, then you go for it. Because as I was doing a bit of research on this focus that you've been doing, and sending these pads to these girls, it's a thing that maybe you don't even think about normally, right? It's not something you think is a problem in the world until, someone tells you that it is, and you're like, oh yeah, that's definitely a problem. I love that the sense of creativity also, and that you have in the way that you solve problems. You're taking your gifts and talents in order to solve problems, and that's really, why I wanted you on the show, and because that's what the show is about. The UV Effect is about taking about what makes you unique and changing the world, making an effect on this world, using your value to affect the world in a positive way. And you really are doing that. And so if any young person is watching this right now, that in of itself, that creativity that you have, and then the willingness to put it towards something that impacts you, I think is very inspiring. And, I've been inspired by you, and you continue to inspire as you wrote your book. You Got This. Can you tell us about your book and why, what inspired you to get it done?
Well, thank you so much. And You Got This really came from after I did my TED Talk, and my TED Talk at TED Women in 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah. After I did my TED Talk, and it went live, and, the whole world basically saw it,
Yeah, man.
I started getting so many emails and messages and comments from people all over the world, all different ages, that were like, I find your story really inspiring. Like, I want to start my own business. What can I do? Or I want to do something to give back and to be an activist with these causes. Like, what do you think the first step should be? And that's what really drove me to write You Got This, because that book basically encompasses, my journey thus far. I wrote it at 15, so it's still fairly up to date. Of course, I have more, more that I want to share now.
Yeah, of course.
But it was my story thus far at that time, and also talking about how I started, what I've learned along the way, and how you can find what it is that you're passionate about, figure out what kind of creative type you are, and how to utilize knowing that, but finding what it is that you're passionate about and taking it to the next level, and really putting your passion into action. And that's basically what You Got This was about. And it's so amazing now to see how schools are using my book as curriculum, for example. And that's just really been amazing to see how many young entrepreneurs that I've since inspired with this book, and young change makers and activists and innovators that have come from just reading the book and how it's being used. So that's absolutely something that I'm really excited and happy about, to have something that, like, this kind of encompasses everything, like, at the moment.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll be helpful, and it's really amazing to see how it's inspired especially so many youth.
Yeah. I definitely, I was looking into it, and hearing, that the book that you wrote is being able to, it's transcending, it's being read by these young people, and being, heard, and really being understood by these young people. I just think that's really, really cool. And I always find it just so interesting when someone that you're around the same person's age, right, and they are doing incredible things, and you're just inspired by someone that's just your same age, or a little bit younger, or a little bit older, and it just gives you so much hope, and I think it's just so powerful. And as I said, your book, I don't know if I've read the whole thing. No, I have not, and I might just get it after this is over, because I really want to read your book. But I mean, I think what you're doing, and that message, and then being able to send this out to young people. I mean, you speak, obviously, but I feel like having that hardcover book, or that hard copy book, where a young person can really read it and just be inspired by it. I think that's cool. And then, of course, you being inspired by it yourself, just knowing that that's possible, and it's very cool. I know I have to start wrapping up, but I do have another question. I wanted to know. Well, I'm sure a lot of people believe that making efforts to change the world and to make an impact are a very difficult thing. And I'm sure that it can be difficult depending on what you choose to do. And so, but you have managed to make an incredible impact and continue to make an incredible impact in this world. And so my question is, what kind of struggles have you faced as you have gone along, this journey and doing what you're doing? But on top of that, what has made you, what moment has made you feel like that all of it was worth it?
I think right first, just off the top of my head, just to encompass everything, I have dealt with, and I'm sure you absolutely have too. I think we kind of touched on that earlier, about, age. People don't take you as seriously. And, I started my company, for example, at a time where phrases like kidpreneur or teenpreneur and, all of those cool little terms, like, kind of weren't really a thing. And so I was just more of an anomaly than a kidpreneur, and of course that some of that's starting to change, but there is still, a lot out there about, like, oh, what do these kids know? They're too young to make a change, or they're too young to know what they're talking about, or, somebody must be telling them, what to do. Like, and it's I'm sure, like I said, you've dealt with that same thing of how can you be doing so many amazing things so young? It must be either an adult behind you,
Yeah.
or you just don't know what you're talking about. And
Where's your
so,
mom? Where's your dad? Let me talk to
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I know that has been an issue. And of course, that's starting to disappear more, not only because I'm getting older, but because the world is starting to, is more open now to uh, these young people that are really actually making a difference and starting something early. Like people are starting to understand, okay, this can happen and it can make sense and I can support these kids on their mission. Um, but other than that, of course, there are issues anytime when you're starting. For me, I'm such an kind of all over the place person. I have so many different ideas of things that I want to start, and um, it's always interesting to figure out what needs to be prioritized. I, of course, have a whole system now, but early on, it took me a minute to really figure out how to prioritize everything because I started getting so many different ideas. And oh, cool! I guess I have a company. I have a fashion line. I have a nonprofit and an animation studio. That's cool. Like how to really juggle that. And I know not everybody will have this issue because not everyone has an unhealthy amount of ideas at all times like me. But I think that's important for anyone, though, to prioritize. Even when it's with one thing, there are a lot of moving parts to just, for example, starting a business and just kind of prioritizing what steps to take next. And I think for me, what really makes it all worth it, I think the moments that have really made it worth it, just things like speaking at a school, and they might have read my book, and talking to these teens and kids that have been inspired by me and are like, wow, I never thought about this and this, where I thought about myself in this way, and now because of you, I want to start something. And just things like the emails or the DMs or the comments that I get from other kids and teens that have been inspired, that really is like, wow, okay, this is real. People see this, other kids and, like kids and other teens see this. And, just that alone, by helping to inspire and that, bring out that passion in other, future change makers, is really like within itself what makes me so excited about what I'm doing and keeps me going forward. And I know that's probably true for you also, because you're such a huge inspiration. You inspire me. I know you inspire everyone that's been following your journey and all of your listeners. And so thank you for everything that you do. But it's really, that's what really keeps me going, is knowing that, even no matter how far I go, I'm still inspiring others to start and to keep going forward too.
Absolutely. Incredible. I just want to thank you so much for being on. And before we go, I want to give you the chance to mention anything else that maybe we forgot to talk about. Make sure to share like your social media and stuff, as well as if there are any upcoming projects that you want people to, go to, maybe donate for, whatever it is, just let us know.
I think at the moment, my animation, I have some animated series that are coming out very soon, so keep an eye out for that. I'm excited about that. And then also my book, and I have another book that I'm working on at the moment, that I'm also keep an eye out for that. So there's a lot of little behind the scenes things that are happening, but if you want to look out for any like big projects coming out, it's my animated series and my book. Those are the two things. And my social media, my Instagram is just Maya's Ideas, so that's MAYAS Ideas. My Twitter is Maya's Ideas Shop, and Facebook is just Maya's Ideas. And my website is mayasideas.com if you want to find my designs and you want to find any of my items or just learn more about how I started my company and about the company. That's mayasideas.com. And also my nonprofit, which is separate, Maya's Ideas for the Planet. It's just Maya's Ideas, but with the number 4.
Okay.
Theplanet.org.
Right. Okay.
So that's everything. That's everything I have.
And I know it's a lot, so all of it will be linked down below. So those of you who are watching, make sure to, or listening, be sure you can scroll down on my website and you can see all of her information, social media, book, website, everything will be there. And be sure to click on and check her out. And I just want to thank you again so much for being on the show and sharing your message and sharing your story. And I know with the young people that are listening and even the full-grown adults that are listening, they were quite inspired because I was quite inspired just by you and having been following you for maybe a few years on social media and such, and also knowing Haley, and she's talked about you quite a bit. And Haley's also been on the show, but seeing you and seeing what you've been doing. Again, we're same age, and I just love to see that, to see that we're young and we're working. And I'm just very proud, I guess, of our generation, and I'm very just excited to see what you're gonna do next. And just again, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, and thank you again for having me. This has been an awesome conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the UV Effect podcast. I hope that you enjoyed this interview with Maya Penn, and if you did, be sure to head over to GabrielleJordanInspires.com/039 to check out all the information about Maya Penn. If you scroll down on that page, you'll find her website, her Instagram, all her social medias, her book links, all of that will be there so you can connect with her and learn more about Miss Maya Penn. Also, while you're there, be sure to leave a comment letting us know how you liked the episode. You can also do this on iTunes. You can comment there as well as leave a rating for us, just so that other people can know how you're enjoying the show. Also, be sure to head over to Instagram and follow us there at the UV Effect to check out upcoming episodes, quotes from the interviews, and all the our favorite quotes from the different episodes, as well as some fun behind the scene clips that we sometimes post on the Insta story. So again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you'll be here next Tuesday for another episode of the UV Effect podcast. See you then.